So this game is called, is it Flock of Sparrows, this one?
Yeah, Flock of Sparrows.
And so the idea is that you want to not be attacked by, well, the rest of us who are sparrows here. So basically, just make sure that you don't have your two bandanas taken from you. If you do, you have to step out of the circle. You may not use your hands to block people if they come in for the bandana. So if Tony came in to reach for my bandana and I'm looking over here, I can't go like that to Tony or smack him in the head. You know, you have to make sure that if he comes for it, all right? You guys understand? All right, so adults, we're going to say this right now. We should go for kids to begin with because it's more fun to mob them. Trust me. It's a good beginning. All right, ready? Go. You're guarding it. So in the mornings when kids arrive and parents arrive, we like to get everyone at a really high level of energy so they're all ready for fun, and that's really putting everyone in that east. Gets everyone really piqued and interested with us. It's just a really good technique for getting everyone tied into you. Now, at this point, we usually want them to become really quiet, start to south, because we're preparing them for doing fire. You have to be really focused for that. Now, last week, we did string stalks all of the time with people blindfolded to really get them to tie into their landscape and then slow down. So they became all of that really intense south energy with the fox walking. Mike and I for 2 days have had string stalks already prepared for them to walk upon, and for some reason it hasn't happened. And I realized why on the way up we haven't done them. This group doesn't need it. They don't need to be blindfolded and walk upon the string in order to get with the woods. Every morning they've been walking up here barefooted, and they move already like they're connected. They move already like they're feeling the rhythms of nature. They move already like they're tying into that beauty and that heartbeat. So we don't need the blindfolded string stalk for that. Rarely do you have a group that you can do that with. In fact, I'd say never with an introductory group. This is the benefit to being able to advance our program now, is that we have people who are already starting to explore these skills openly, willingly, and appreciate them. And we're really thankful that people can shift into south and then reflect with the west, that whole community aspect, so easily without us having to facilitate it by taking their vision from them. Very impressed with them right now. Talking during this, I'm just going to show you how it would be. So, now, while I was spinning him, I'm looking out at the terrain and trying to figure out which tree I want to bring him to. So I'm going to explain to you the guidelines of that. The tree has to be at least 10 feet away from where we're standing right now. Does everyone understand? But I want you to watch me and how I lead him. And I'm going to go through this quicker than you folks will. Like, you're actually going to take more time with the guiding than I am, but I want you to watch how I do it. Okay? this point, Mike is going to get to know the tree. You understand? He's going to feel it as high as he can reach. He's going to feel all the way down to the ground and feel what it feels like all the way to the base. Get to know all the different contours and shapes, bumps, any other aspects of the tree. You can't help but feel some of the things that are in close proximity to it as well, so don't feel bad about just making sure that you always have a hand touching the tree if you reach out and touch the things around it, okay? But you want to get to know this tree, this spot. Does that make sense? When he's done, he just tells me he's done. Does everyone understand? I don't rush him. He has no countdown. I just stand here and I wait with him, and then when he's all set, he'll stand and he'll face me, or he'll just kind of let go of the tree and say, okay. And then, and I'm not going to do it the same way I just did, but I would lead him again in a very circuitous route. Like I'm not, you guys all notice I didn't go directly to the tree, right? You saw that I took him in like this meandering way toward the tree, and then brought him to the tree.
They're doing the blindfolded tree find right now. It's where you have a partner blindfold someone else and then lead them to a tree on a rather circuitous route. And then they get to know the tree, mostly through sense of touch. Those who are more willing to experiment sometimes use sense of smell. I have seen a couple people actually use sense of taste, which I don't recommend, but is always interesting to see. So then once they get to know the tree, tell the person who's not blindfolded, their guide, that they're ready to come back to the beginning. The guide will then spin them and a second time, and then have them go back and find the tree. I like to pose the challenge to the people that they don't ask, is this my tree? That they in fact know the tree so well that they look at their partner and say, this is my tree. Some people would argue that this is an activity based around South energy, possibly, because they have to be so focused. They are paying great attention to detail. I myself have always felt that this was more of a west and north activity. When we think of west, we think of community. We think of building relationships. And the time during the tree find activity where we get to know this tree, we're being invited into a relationship for a short period of time with this tree. And so it always feels more like a community thing. Plus, for some reason, the guide led the person to that particular tree. Something about the tree intrigued them enough to bring the blindfolded person there. And so that seems completely west to me. The north part is recognizing the story of the landscape, because every landscape has a story to it, and hopefully they're taking it that deeply. In truth, it is pretty focused on south, though, in terms of remembering that attention to detail. It's a good activity for centering people. It's a very good activity for amazing people, because no tree is like another tree.
So I thought maybe I had.
Oh, it was that one? The one with the orange ribbon on it?
No, it wasn't. It was one very similar right over there.
Ah. Cool. Nice. But you found it?
Yep.
There's a man who's walking out in the woods. And as he was walking out in his property, he saw a small magician. Some people call them shaman. These ones are a little bit more elusive, and so we assign magical names to them, although this one was, surprisingly powerful, but a little bit of magic to him. And so the man actually knew that if he caught the shaman, that he would have to grant him one wish of anything he desired. And so he caught him, because the man was sleeping. And so the man who owned the property and caught the shaman, who's held on tight, and the shaman says, "Let me go! Let me go!" And he goes, "Oh no, you owe me one wish." So he released him, and he says, "What is it you desire?" Now the man was not a stupid man. And so he sat and he thought about this, and he said first to himself, he's like, I could say riches forever, but I know it would never fully get me everything that I wanted. Like, no matter what, people who say money always want more. Like, they just can't get enough stuff with their money. So I'm not going to say that. He wouldn't grant me more wishes, so that'd be a dumb one. I don't want really huge homes. And he goes, I've got it. He looks at the shaman and he says, I want a demon that will do whatever it is I ask for. All of the time. The shaman says, okay. Not a problem. I'll grant you your demon. And he reaches up, which perplexed the man, and grabbed one of the curly hairs off the top of his head and plucked it. And the shaman handed this to the man who had caught him and said, here, you're going to want this to go with the demon. The man didn't know what to make of that, so all of a sudden the shaman just, poof, disappeared. And in his place, what's this? Tiny little demon standing on this stump where the shaman was sleeping before, and he goes, Master, what is it you desire? And so the man says, carry me home. And the little demon lifted him up above his head, and he ran with him all the way through the woods back to his house, and he set him down into his kitchen. And the man sits in his chair, and the little demon comes up beside him and he goes, Master, what is it you desire? The man says, I would like you to build me a new house over on that hill. Yes, master. And he runs on. Now, the man thought, this is good. I've been wanting a new house. Big one. Let's see what he does. 5 minutes later, the little demon shows back up inside of his kitchen. Master, I'm done. What will you have me do now? The man says, you can't possibly be done with the house. And the demon says, look out the window. And so the man goes and he looks out the window and he sees an enormous house built on the hillside. House doesn't even qualify. Like, I mean, it was basically a castle. And it had enormous glittering windows and huge doors and gilt handles on everything. And he said, oh, yeah, this business of the demon being busy is going to be a little bit tricky for me. Because the shaman didn't really tell him at the time that he would have to keep him busy all the time. The man already said to him, I want a demon that will do work for me all the time. It's funny how we don't think about our words as they come out of our mouth. So as he was standing there thinking about what he could have this demon do next, he saw him grow a bit. And by a bit, like a foot all of a sudden. He says, oh my. And he goes, Master, what is it you desire? He says, I want you to go out and I want you to hunt down caribou. And I want you to cook it on open fire and bring me that with some rabbit stew and some fresh vegetables from the garden of the neighbor that's about 2 miles up the road. Can you do that for me? And so he goes, yes, master. And the demon leaves. And the man sits there and he's getting nervous. He's like, oh, this can't be good. 3 minutes later, the demon comes back. He's 2 feet taller than when he left and says, Master, it is done. And he hands him his plate with the supper on it. And he goes, oh my. Now the demon is about his height now. And so he's growing considerably by the moment. And as the man is trying to think of what to tell him to do next, he sees the demon grow taller and taller. And the demon says, Master, I need something to do. Give me a task. I must be busy. And the man says, go over to my new house, and I want you to cut 5 cord of wood, so I'm all set for a little bit of the winter time. Just go and get that ready for me. And as that demon rushed out the door, he saw him grow another full 2 feet, filling the doorway on the way out, having to bend down. And the man was truly scared, because he knew when the demon returned, he would be much larger and need more things to do. The man had only had the demon for about an hour at this point, when he realized this was not going to work out well for him. And so as the demon is going off, the man thinks, I'm going to run away. He won't find me. And so the man takes off from his house, and he goes deep into those woods where he ended up finding the shaman earlier. As he's approaching there, he hears what sounds like horrible cracking thunder behind him, and he just hears splintering wood flying in all directions. And when he finally stops, gasping, completely out of breath, he sees the treetops around him bend outward and a face appear over the canopy. And it's his demon. It's about 25 or 30 feet tall, with enormous teeth. And leaning into the clearing, he looks at the man. He says, "Master, I am done. I need a task. I'm getting hungry. If I don't have something to do, I will need to eat." The man knew what that meant. The man got very nervous all of a sudden. He said, "I appear to be the closest bit of food for this demon." And he starts thinking, and he's like, "Oh, the shaman had something else, he told me." What was it the shaman had given him as well?
A piece of his hair.
He pulls this hair from his pocket where it had been. He's like, "I don't know what to do." And he's like, And he hands it to the demon, and as he's thinking, he hands this to the demon just looks at this hair and he goes, "What, master, am I supposed to do with this?" And the man didn't know what to say. He just said, "Straighten it. Straighten the hair." The demon laughed out loud, a deep, thunderous, guttural laugh. He goes, "I built you a mansion, went out and hunted your supper, cut 5 cord of wood, all within a very short period of time, and your task you give to me before I swallow you is to straighten a hair. Thanks for the challenge, master. Let me see it. I will see if I can do this." He's chuckling as he does this. He pulls the hair straight. "Oh, that was tough. Now it's my supper time." And he let go of the hair, and when he let go of it, the hair curled back up toward his hand. And the demon stopped for a second. He looks at the hair and he grabs it again. And he straightens it. And he let go, and the hair curled back up. The demon started to shrink, little by little by little, as he stood there and infuriatingly kept trying to straighten the hair and let go and have it curl back up. Straighten the hair, let go and have it curled back up. And the man waited until the demon was back to his original size, and then he plucked the hair from the demon's hand and said, "Take me back to my new house. I'm hungry again." And so he brought the man to his new house, and as soon as he set him down, and he had eaten, and it was time for bed, and the demon carried him there, he handed him the hair, and he said, "Just straighten this for the evening." And in the morning he had new tasks for the demon. Now this story I like, because the demon represents something here. The demon is your logical mind. Your brain is constantly wanting to think or puzzle or reason and have all of these answers, have these definitive things in place. Now the question is, what is it we can do to keep that at bay? Because while that's happening, you've been missing all of these bird songs, the cicadas, the webs, the slugs hanging, the moths that we see, the dragonfly on the tree, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, the way the stumps and the logs look. Every little thing that each of you is bringing up to me with such excitement, you're not doing that all of the time. I know you're not. And I know I'm not appreciating it all the time because we get ourselves tied up with our logical minds all day. Do you all know what I'm talking about? And this is where I tell you what your hair is. The hair is when you can do that breath to surrender and start to really expand yourself to your senses. If you start to do your whole sensory awareness, get yourself into sacred silence, it's enough to keep your logical mind at bay. You're expanding your awareness, and your brain no longer has to keep solving answers because it has a hair to work with while you get to know yourself and the world around you. Does everyone understand? Aho?
I hope.
I hope.